Patreon, going strong. If you want to go over there and join in on the fun, we got 3 tiers on Canadian dollars. First tier is $3 a month, where you get these episodes ad free. You also get AMAs once a month, or learn about me episodes once a month. And then on the second tier, which is $5 a month, you get everything from the first tier, as well as coverage of a reality show, a fiesta year. That's right now Jersey Shore, currently in season 3. You can also go to the main feed, where there will be the first episode of every season released there, so you can try that before you head over to the Patreon. And then on the third tier, you get everything from the first 2 tiers, as well as coverage from a true crime documentary. We got the backlog of Ashley Madison documentary, Man with 1,000 Kids, Into the Fire, Lacey Peterson, and again, all those episodes for the first episode of each is in the main feed, so you can try that before you head over. So if you are interested, you can head over to patreon.com/realityt times 2, and you can sign up for whichever tier you feel for. Again, you can try before you buy, which basically means you can try any tier for a week before committing to it. Even if you are on if you are on tier 1 or the first tier and you want to go over to the second tier, you could still try that second tier for a week before committing to the upgrade. So again, that is at patreon.com/realityt times 2. And of course, the link is in the show notes, website, social media accounts. It's all available there. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we're going to be discussing Love is Blind UK episode 4. So we don't have any hot goss in this episode. Of course, again, if you are listening to this on the main feed, just letting you know that there are probably episodes already for Love is Blind UK already available to you to listen to with early access on Patreon. So that is available to there. You can go head on over to patreon.com/realityt times 2, and you can sign up for the very first tier for $3, where you can get these for ad-free and early access. So that's there. And again, if anyone is interested in partaking in other tiers for Patreon, which we've already talked about that on the ad that you would have heard in the beginning. If listening to us on the main feed, obviously Patreon does not hear that. But the documentary for this month is, again, it's called Zodiac. This is Zodiac speaking. That's what it's called. And that is on Netflix. That came out earlier this year. So that is the documentary for this month. You would have already received the free feed episode for that already, and the rest of it will be on Patreon exclusive there. Yeah, that's that. And that's on the third tier, which is $7 a month. But anyways, nothing else to really discuss on the top of the episode. Just as a warning, again, this is a audio only episode, no video for this. But let's head into it. This is episode 4. We left off with Splenic or whatever the fuck, this idiot, literally saying to Anu, I hate to do this, but like, I'm breaking up with you. Yeah. I wanted someone to rock my world, and I didn't get that because my spleen isn't rocked. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to have wasted your time. Like, I feel like he's hanging this all on her. It's her fault that she didn't rock his world. It's her fault that his spleen wasn't spleening. It's her fault because she wouldn't sing for him, you know? To me, it's like, you're not entitled to any of these things. He's a dick. And I I didn't really know this and I didn't catch on to it, but it does make sense. I did listen to the 3rd episode for Love Is Blind UK where, um, for on a Reality Gaze, which is exclusive to their Patreon, that this is like a cult. Like, this is actually a thing, that this is a thing. And I'm just like, "Okay." It explains a lot. It's weird behavior, but it explains a lot. So I think in the grand scheme of things, this girl dodged a whole ass splenic bullet. Mhm. Anyways, moving on past that, a breakup. Who the hell is Amy? Did anyone notice Amy just sitting in the corner there in the women's quarter, the women's caucus? And I'm just like, who's Amy? Who's Amy? Isn't that like a Britney Spears song? Mm. Yeah, so it's in there, it's in there, it's in there. A anyways, it doesn't matter. Of course it matters, but it doesn't matter. Then we have Jed and Barta, and he asks her to stand because, y'all, it's happening. It's happening. Something that splenic, whatever the fuck, what he couldn't do because his spleen wasn't talking. Anyways, Jed says, "My head, heart, and his gut, and let's not forget his spleen, are all saying the exact same thing." He's like, "I would ask for your, um" what did I write? That is not a word. Um, but he basically said, like, I would ask, like, um, for I'd ask for your damn eek. What did I wrote? Okay, anyways. And the brother's blessings. But for now, I'm going down on one knee, and he asks her to marry him, and she says yes. So we have a reveal with Megan and Kieran. They kiss, and her lipstick is like rubbing off on him. We've seen this before. Ladies, get a like, rub off, like a, what's the word? You know what I mean? The lipstick that's not going to rub off. Like, get, anyways. So he didn't expect her to be a redhead. And he gets on a knee and proposes, and, they always do the same trope, and she says, "Of course." And he shows her, his hips that don't lie, and he says, "I'm completely obsessed with her." Then we see, Demola, whatever, having someone proofread his poem, Left Note, something that maybe he shouldn't be doing, but, that's how we go. But we got both men. We see them both heading to the pods currently. We see Katisha going to talk to Demola first, though. And she says, "I have enjoyed getting to know you. I had to go with my gut, though, and my spleen." And she's going with the other connection, which is Jevin. He says, "So, trying to understand here, why did you say my decision won't change?" Fair question to ask. Because here's the thing, I do think that she made a decision and she wanted to be with him. But then she kind of got in her head. Jevin got in her head, or Javin, what the hell his name was, got in her head, and she second guessed herself, or always wanted to be with Jevin and second guessed that because here we have Demila putting all of it out there, and Jevin wasn't. But yeah, I don't know what would have been the right thing to do, because I don't even think she understands what the right thing is to do. Anyways, she says, we get along so well, which doesn't matter when you're not picking him, but anywho's, they get along so well, but I think the romantic connection just wasn't always there. And he says, I was ready to pour my heart out with this poem or whatever the fuck he wrote. He says, I wish you the best, but I think this is when I have to say goodbye. He's feeling blindsided. And that is very fair because he went in this thinking, I'm it because she says I'm it. I know she's it. So, yeah, that is definitely blindsiding. Anyway, after all of that, she then goes to Javin, hoping this is not too late. Once he gets the reassurance that he needed from her that she's about this and she's has ended with Demola, he says, I want to tell you how I feel. And he he says, I really want to marry you. So will you marry me? And she says, yes. And he feels like her Mr. Darcy. And I'm like, girl, this is no Darcy. This is no Mr. Darcy. That is not even a thing. This man is no Mr. Darcy. No man is. But she is going to be sadly mistaken because she does not have a Mr. Darcy. Anyways, in the quarters, it is literally Jamila who's like, let's celebrate his engagement properly because everyone is, what the hell? Because everyone, based on what Jamila said, based on what Javin was saying, this is not how it was supposed to turn out. So I think everyone is in some sort of shock here. And Jamila being really nice and, obviously this is heartbreaking for him, is the one that's like, listen, the man just got engaged. Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate love, That's a stand-up man, honestly. Because Jevin wouldn't have done that for Demila. Not at all. Anyway, then we have the reveal with Jed and Barda. They think they are both gorgeous, and she says, we're going to have the cutest babies. They are going to have the cutest babies. That woman is gorgeous. He is hot. They're going to have the most beautiful babies. Then we then have the reveal with Jevin and Katisha. He says, I'm very visual. I think most men are. And I'm like, oh, so you suck. Cool, cool, cool. And she says, I feel like I have made the right choice. And I don't know if she has made the right choice, y'all. I'm just saying. But at that, the pods are now closed, y'all. And at that, I'm going to do my predictions at this particular point in time after the reveals and kind of what I felt with the reveals. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing. So we'll see how I do once we get through all of this. So Ashley and Billy, I said yes, although worried about her job and how that potentially would affect him. But as long as I think that they're on the same page with that, I think they could work. Um, Cal and Sarova, I want to say yes based on them. That's what I said here. But I'm going to say maybe based on, you know, the fact that we don't know what the families are going to be feeling when it comes to this tension between cultures. That's the part that's kind of holding back for me. But also knowing kind of how things are playing out for the two of them, because obviously I saw them in Cyprus. I now see them in Manchester. So it's kind of going to be interesting what I'm going to say kind of when we kind of get to the weddings and where we're at there. So let's see what we get. Kieran and Megan, I said yes. Jed and Barda, I said yes. Jevin and Katisha, I said no. And I said because I think she's in her head a lot, but I'm kind of maybe changing my views on that, that it's not so much about, I do think Katisha being in her head, not trusting that she is deserving is going to be a problem. But I also think Jevin being Jevin is going to be a problem as well. I don't think it's just about her and in that. So anyway, those are the predictions. Let's see how that goes. Let's head back to the episode. So, as I just mentioned, we're headed to Cyprus. Great destination. Their suites are absolutely gorgeous, and Billy fancies the pants off of Ashley. Love it. So this one we're going to be doing couples, and then obviously like any meetups and stuff like that will happen. That's kind of we're going to be going in order in that sense. So Sarova and Cal. So she's loving his body. He has a great body. I mean, you kind of have to when you own a gym, but he does have a great body. He mentions that he really wants to see Demila, and they start talking about this whole triangle. But she does defend Katisha because obviously, from the women's perspective, they're seeing things differently than what the men are seeing, and the men are seeing things differently than what the women are seeing. Um, but I'm gonna say all of this whole thing with Cal wanting to defend Demila is gonna get old very quickly. More on that. She says, he's better than she expected, to Cal. But he says, "You're not usually my type." Why do people say this? Why do people say this to someone? You're not usually my type, but that doesn't make me feel better. That doesn't make me think you actually want to be with me. Because, listen, I'm not saying Cal is this. Cal seems to be a very nice person, but the last person who said, "You're not my type, but," was freaking Shake. Is that his name, Shake? "Can I carry you at a festival?" That guy. It's it doesn't bode well. I don't know why people say this. Typically though, his type is British girls. So kind of like a Barda would be his type. Um, but he says, that, she I think it's she is happy she isn't his type. I don't know that I guess or is he maybe he was saying that that he's happy he's saying that he's happy that she's not his type because obviously what his type isn't working. So I hear that, but it's clearly something about that typical type for you attracts you. Someone like Sarova doesn't attract you. So out in the real world. So it's just that would give me pause personally. Anyways, Sarova, even in this moment, the thing she says here is, with two blonde girls in the bunch, because that is his type, she has to go with the flow, and she's kind of in her head about that, I guess. But I mean, obviously, him potentially being attracted to Ashley or Barda doesn't matter because those are two people in other relationships. Clearly, nothing will happen, but she is a little bit in her head about that. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. Moving on to Katisha and Javin. So she feels like his girlfriend right now. Not that's is what he says that she feels like his girlfriend. Not a fiance, but time will tell. But he says, I could fall in love. It's fine. So they did not sleep much apparently. But well, I don't know. I don't know. Don't know what that means. They obviously didn't have sex, but I don't know what that means. They didn't sleep much. Clearly, maybe some heavy petting or whatever. And although, like, obviously, do what you gotta do, but something just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? I barely know what I mean, but there's something off. I don't know. I I don't know. That's that's where I'm at. It's just it feels too quick and it feels like his main motivator is the physical, not her. But anyways, Billie and Ashley, she says, I want a man with sexy legs, and he has sexy legs. I've never heard a woman, she said this in the reveal as well. I never heard a woman talk about a man's legs. Usually it's men saying, oh, she has like beautiful long legs. I've never heard a woman speak about like that about a man. It's interesting. It feels weird, but it's interesting. Listen, you like what you like, and she likes a man with sexy legs. Anyway, um, so at one point when we kind of go into one day or the night into the next day, we kind of hear like these sex noises, and it was like, what the hell? He was just doing push-ups. It's fine. Anyways, now we have this kind of like party thing. That's where we're at now. So we'll be doing the rest of this there. And I think the episode ends with that too. So we got a group party. Cal says Barda would have been my type, as we just literally said. Um, but there's nothing to worry about, is also what he says. And I do believe him. Honestly, though, nothing would have happened either way. I do believe him somewhat that nothing would happen, even if something potentially could have. So the ladies talk about, saying I love you to their people. And Katisha's like, I want to be more intentional with my words. Basically saying, like, I'm not going to rush into saying I love a person just for saying I love a person. Like, that doesn't have any meaning. She walks off, and Ashley and Barda, because it was the three of them, are like, I think she's holding back, but they could get there in time. They could get there. I think even they know something is off. I think even they realize she's kind of forcing things. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. So Sarova confides in Ashley about the fact that, I'm not usually like Cal's usual type. He normally dates the white blonde ladies. And like I said before, I do think she's in her head about it. Um, yes, that is a typical, his typical type. And yes, maybe Cal is usually your typical type. Um, but it doesn't mean that he's not into you. Because, like, the thing is, and I'm going to say this, I don't think I've really said it here too much before. My boyfriend is my typical type. He's checks off a lot of the boxes in terms of the physical aspect of things. Tall, dark. I usually am into African men with my track record. Um, Very, stocky, and that's my typical type. When I met my ex-husband, he is not my typical type. He is, Jamaican, yes, I tend to, my track record is African Jamaican. African Jamaican is usually my track record. So in that sense, yes, he checked that box off. He was Jamaican. Usually I went for darker skinned guys. He was lighter skinned. Not that I had any issue with light skinned men. I find them very attractive, but it was just not typically who I went for. So he didn't check that off. He is more on the skinny side, and, not lanky. I don't want to say that so much, but just as we say in Jamaica, maga, very skinny. And that is really not my type. But I fell in love with him anyways. And despite all of those things, because his personality attracted me, and I married him. And even though, like, it didn't work out, if in some weird world, we were to come together again, I would still, despite the fact, obviously, been there, done that. But even if, like, I didn't know him before and I saw him again, and we, you know, had that opportunity to go through that again without the history and all that, probably still would have gone through that because I didn't just find like he was cute, do not get me wrong. He just wasn't my usual type. And I was his. So it's like that can happen and you can still have a great relationship. And you can get in your head so much about those things. You have to just let it go. And I think she is definitely struggling with letting it go. Anyways, then we kind of have this whole thing about Cal again being really hung up on Demla. And it's getting annoying because, like, instead of focusing on your relationship with Sarova, you're worried about Demla, who isn't here. So he pulls Katisha aside to talk to her about it because he feels so bad for Demla. Like he feels like he just wants to shame her for her choice, is what it feels like. And it's like, listen, you may not agree with her choice. Her choice may have come completely out of left field. But at the end of the day, it was her choice and her decision. Why are you so hung up on it? And the thing too that pisses me off is him saying like, oh, they were like best friends, like him and Demila. Like he was like my best friend and you knew each other for 10 fucking days. You're not best friends. You got along really well and that's great, but you're not best friends. Calm your tits, mind your business, and focus on the relationship that you need to work on in order for this to work by the end so you can marry her. Is that you're focused on someone who's not even fucking there. Get over yourself. Um, he asks, what made you pick Jevin? None of your business. That's what. Like, what? What made you pick Sarova? Stupid fucking question to ask somebody. But she does answer him and she says, my connection was just stronger with him. Point blank, mic drop, period. Cool it. It's ridiculous. Anyways, we're going to take a quick break here, though. I need to stop this soon because I need to take a break and record my other podcast. So, we're going to take a break here because we only talked about this for about 25 minutes or so. And I think we can do another episode. So, I'm going to take a break here. And when we come back, we'll jump in with episode 5 of Love is Blind, UK. Hi, everyone. So I have a new product for you to partake in, one that I'm going to share with you, and that is Be Believe. So Be Believe in the power of playful learning. So dive into the world of wonder with Be Believe's rich collection of animations, catchy songs, playful coloring pages, hands-on activity sheets, and engaging ebooks. Each element is thoughtfully crafted to captivate young minds while reinforcing positive behaviors in a fun and meaningful way. Whether your little one is watching a magical adventure, singing along, coloring their favorite character, or reading an enchanting tale, every moment is packed with joy, learning, and imagination. So if you go to our unique code or link in order to not only support Be Believe, but also support the podcast, you can head to be-believe.com/reality2. So that's www.believe.com/reality2. So that is REALITEATWO. And the link is also in the show notes where you can also link to that. So head on over to Be Believe with our unique code link and you can unleash good behavior through enchanting tales, where imagination and good behavior unite. Thank you, Be Believe, for supporting this podcast. Now, back to the show. And I'm back. So let's get into episode 5. So Ashley and Billy, so there's not really much here to say about them. We see them on a date. There's not much to really say. They're happy. They're great. I think we have like some sort of, I don't know if we have any get-togethers in this particular episode. But yeah, nothing much more. No, we do. We do have a get-together again in this episode. So not much to say at that point. Anyways, moving on to Megan and Kieran. So they are on a yacht, having their little date on a yacht. They talk about her mom being in not so great relationships, and how it kind of has shaped how Megan moves through her relationships that she's had in her adult life. He says, like, I want you to know that that's not me. Like, he understands where she's coming from and how that can affect how one moves through a relationship. But also he wants to reassure her that that's just not how is or how he would treat her. He says, I cared for you so quickly while in the pods. He is wanting her to say, you know, that she loves him, or wanting to hear it back. Because I don't remember him saying it, but I guess he has said it. But she says she wants to take her time before saying it, and I think that's fair. Again, y'all have only known each other for what, 10 days? For a little more than that? In the real world, you don't jump into saying I love you that quickly. Like, I know this is an expedited situation. At the end of it, you're supposed to be getting married, but definitely let a person go at their own pace. Yeah, that this is how I feel. Anyways, moving on to Cal and Sarova. So he tells her that types don't really matter to him, which I do believe. I do think, you know, yes, he has a type, or he just has typically dated the similar type. But I do also, like we said it before in an episode, I think it was 4, that he it's kind of what was available to him in the town or city that he lives in. So I don't think it's that he didn't potentially only focus on one particular type. I do believe that he doesn't hang his hat on types. But he says, like, it doesn't matter when you're in love with someone. He does say that, yes, I dated predominantly white blonde girls, but that's because that's what's in his town. So actually I didn't say it. It's ahead of myself. Said it in this episode. He then again brings up Damola and Khadijah yet again. And this is the thing that pisses me off about him. It's like, okay, I hear you guys are friends. I hear you are upset that he, in your mind, was blindsided by Katisha. However, you're focusing too much on that in this moment when you should be focused on bettering your relationship, growing your relationship, making sure your relationship is strong. That is where you're not focusing. And that is why I'm getting frustrated with him. I can't, like, how long are we going to talk about Demola, whatever, and Katisha? How long are we going to keep talking about this before this becomes way too much? Like, this is so dumb. Anyways, this again with the he's my best friend. You have only known each other for 10 days. Unless I'm missing something, I don't know. And he's like, I just felt bad for him. And it's just, okay, you could feel bad for him, but you're literally taking time away from your fiance in order to focus on another relationship. It is stupid. Anyways, with that said, let's move on to Katisha and Javin. Katisha brings up the convo that she had with Cal the day before. And Javin says, he's pretty straightforward with how he feels. Bruh, I'm sorry. If your fiance is coming to you and telling you, I had this conversation with Cal about Demila and how he feels like I wasn't straightforward with him, blah, 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 sis, boom, blah, whatever. And clearly that bothered her. Clearly that was a lot. Clearly having someone who I don't freaking know questioning me, it's ridiculous. That's not fair. And he just kind of sits there and says nothing. Absolutely unreal. Then we move on to Jed and Barda. So after they did their ATV, we saw them do some ATVing, she says, thanks for letting me drive. Thanks for letting me lead. He asks, like, do you usually drive, in this case, lead, when you're in a relationship? And she says yes, because yeah, that's kind of sometimes what we have to do. She says she's not used to letting a man lead. And he is also not built that way to let a woman lead. So I definitely see that there's going to be some issues there. Um, Again, these are things that maybe they should have talked about before, but it is what it is, right? All right, so we could move on from doing the couples at this point. We'll see what we go to have the end here. But we're heading into a wine mixer, and we have Matt and Emma. They're here, just looking gorgeous. And they put their words of wisdom out there that we actually care about. If it were the Lachey's, we don't care. This would never have happened if it was the Lachey's anyways. So Ashley has never introduced a man to her dad before. So he's a little bit worried about that. Spoiler alert, he doesn't need to be. Katisha and Jevin, although want to get married, they both kind of say, like, yeah, I know we're here. Obviously, we want to get married. But they are also prepared to say it's not our time to get married, though, if things are not quite working out once they are living together. So they're prepared to, like, date at the end of this. But the thing is that that's not what Love is Blind is about. Love is Blind is supposed to be about getting married, or you never see each other again. Those are the stakes that are in place for Love is Blind. If you're literally saying, and there always is a plan B, but that's not what the show is about. The show is about getting married and that being the goal, not let's see if we get there, but if not, we can just date. That's not the goal of the show. Like, I don't know who is stick handling that one, but I don't know. But anyways, Kieran talks about Megan with the guys talks about Megan with the guys about her not saying I love you when he has. And again, the thing is, it's like, okay, so then are you just saying it so that you can hear it back from her? Or do you actually mean it? Do you actually respect the fact that she's not ready to say it yet because well, he didn't really say he's, I guess he kind of said he's being patient, but at the same time, you're clearly not being patient. So, like, you know, he does say, which I guess is his right to say, he doesn't want to hear that before they do get married. So, fair. Jevin says, yeah, neither of us have said it yet. That's not surprising. It just says, like, I'm not used to letting a woman lead. Probably just saw them talking about that. And he says he's not used to letting that happen. He's like, I'm used to people depending on me. But maybe for once, you can depend on her. Maybe she can allow that space for you. Or, better yet, maybe you guys can allow space to depend on each other because you're a team. That's what it's all about. He's like, it's not like it's a bad thing. He's not saying it's a bad thing. Um, yeah. Billy says, though, at this point, let me be honest with you, Jevin. Hearing you say you would date after this, I don't get that because that is not what the show is about. Then Cal says, because of course he finds the opportunity to bring Demila up, he says, do you ever think about Demila? Why would he think about the other guy who is interested in his fiance? That's not how this works. They should be focusing on each other. Um, but he says, he kind of had the rug pulled underneath him. Okay, but that is how this works. You're allowed to date other people. There is going to be a person who is going to have the rug pulled out from underneath them. Jed says, but I can't imagine how she felt either because, thank you, all he is focused on is how Demila felt. He's not thinking about how Katisha felt. You need to realize where she was coming from when she's the one who has to make the decision. Do I think she made the right decision? Maybe, maybe not. Do I think she has a lot of work to do on herself before she should have been on the show? Yeah, I do think seeing how she was with Demila and kind of her uneasiness with letting that happen or believing it. Like, I'm personally still on the fence with Demila. I don't know how I really felt about him putting it on so heavy. Um, because kind of, I don't know. Like, I don't know, but at the end of the day, she seemed very confused with her choice, even when she chose Jevin at the end. But despite being annoying about this, Cal does say she blindsided you in a good way, but what if she does it in a bad way? Now that I can get behind. That makes sense to me. Because yes, she did do that to Jevin. Is it possible that she could do it again? That I understand. But I don't know if he really even cares about Jevin and how Jevin will feel because he's all over Devil's dick. Anyways, Barda, moving on to the girls here, says Jed is ready to be that provider, but I'm good with paying too. Like, I can take care of myself because she's been doing it. And Ashley talks to Katisha, I think just kind of them one-on-one, about not saying I love you yet. And she says, like, is something on your mind? More so, is someone else on your mind? Because she says, is Demila on your mind? She says no. And I do believe her. I think her issues go way deeper than this triangle that she created in the pots. She says no, but Jevin was moving at a pace that I was comfortable with. AKA, Jevin was doing and saying things that I was comfortable with because that is what I am used to. I am not used to a man showering me with affection in the way that Demila did. That's what that meant. She says, it's nothing against Demila. My life has been chaotic. If your life has been chaotic and you haven't worked through that, or at least starting the work to work through that, maybe we shouldn't be trying to find a husband. But Ashley says, do you want to marry him? And she says, yes. I don't believe her. I don't believe she actually wants to do this. I don't think she's ready, mentally speaking, to be someone's wife at the end of it. So after she says yes, she responds, but she asks Ashley this, why do you have doubts? Why would Ashley have doubts for something you said you want to do? Ashley doesn't see the ins and outs of your relationship, you do. She's just seeing how you're acting and how things are just not making sense. So Ashley says no, but you're going to be married to him for the rest of your life. Um, so like you should think about what you're doing. She says, I think we're gonna be okay. I don't, but anyways, she's like, I don't want to be the villain, honey. You're not the villain. You're not the villain. Honestly, there isn't a villain in sight in this season, really, not in comparison to other seasons. Um, you're not a villain. You're just you're just not ready for this. It's not that you're the villain, because trust me, you are not the villain, and Ashley says as much. So, after that, it's time to leave Cyprus, and we're headed back to England, and we're headed to Manchester with the sounds of "It's all or nothing, it's all or nothing, and there's no other way. It's all or nothing." Now, if anyone listening to this only watches Love is Blind, you have no clue how I could sing that song so effortlessly. But for people who watch Maps, Married at First Sight, you get it. Anyways, um, these apartments though that they're in are so cool. They're very artsy, kind of like them. So we're heading back into our couples again. So Ashley and Billy, they got their phones, but she's like, I just want to stay in this bubble that we're in. Like, they're not ready to kind of go back to real life and be on their phones and all that, and to catch up on the text messages and everything and all that. And I love that. I don't think we've ever seen someone actually say, I don't really want my phone back yet. That is great. Billy is meeting her dad now. His name is, I think it's Green or Green. So he asks her, "So where you been?" He's like, "Well, I got news. So I've been living in Manchester, and Billy here is not my boyfriend. He's actually my fiance." And her dad's like getting married, fiance. Well, sir, that's usually what fiance means, but anyways, she says, "Yeah, we're getting married." And she explains the process to him about, we all know the process. And he's like, "Well, I in a bit of shock, to be honest. Fair enough, fair enough." He's like, "I thought I was coming to meet your boyfriend, not your fiance." And that's where we end that for now. We'll come back to that in the next episode, I believe. Her dad is a character. I kind of like him. Anyways, moving on to Megan and Kieran. Um, he's like, "So yeah, I'm finding Megan on Instagram." And she's trying to find him on Instagram. And there's this one particular picture where she's like in lingerie and her ass is out and she looks hot. And he's absolutely loving the pictures. I think if we looked closely or if we positioned the camera very differently, he most likely had a boner. Anyways, that's them. Not much else to say there. Judd and Barda, again, not much to say else here, but they're cooking. There's a dish, I think it's called peta or pita. I think it's peta. Um, very slowly. Apparently, it's a very slow cooking dish, but they're doing that together, so that's good. Then we move on to Katisha and Jevin. So they're kind of having a conversation about that she's feeling bothered about the couples talking so much about the triangle situation. Really and truly, it's not really the couples talking about it. It's freaking Cal that's talking about it. But he says, "I get why they're asking questions, sir. Sir, again, listen." I can, I mean, at least they're doing this in front of her, nobody else. But then again, he has said, similar things to the guys as well. But she's your fiance. You're new as hell. And although you can say, "Well, I get why they're doing that," there's a better way to have this conversation than to add to the uncomfortability that she's feeling about people talking about this situation by saying what you just said. Like, there's better ways. But anyways, he says he gets it. He's like, "It switched." He's saying about Demala, he felt so confident. And then it flipped. It flipped because you wanted it to, though. You are the cause for the flip. Don't then hold it against her when she flipped to you. I'm just saying. He's like, something was said to him for him to feel confident. Now that's true. That is true. So she responds back with, "Well, it's kind of a silly thing, to be honest, but I did tell him not to worry. And that is where the episode ends. Technically, the episode actually ended with Ashley and Billy, but that's where the episode ends. And we're going to see where that goes. Now, in Jevon's defense, and in Demila's for that matter, she did say that to him and then turned around and picked the other guy. So that is a problem. That is a problem. That would explain the confidence. But still, even if I personally think, even if she didn't say that to him, I still think he would have went in there confident as ever that it's going to be him. I don't think it would have changed anything. I don't, in terms of how he reacted to it. So either way, that is the episode, guys. That is for episode 5, and that is it for my episode. So we'll see where we're at after that. Again, I am recording the second half the next day, but just as a reminder, if you're listening to this on the main feed, you could head on over to Patreon at the first tier, which is $3, where you can potentially take part in the other episodes that may or may not be available to you. It most likely is available to you. So you can head on over there to patreon.com/reality times 2. Link is in the show notes, and you can subscribe to the first tier, which is again $3 a month, where you can get these episodes, early access, ad-free, the whole bit. But that is it, guys. That is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality T times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality T times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality T times 2 pod. We also have our email, which is at realityt2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityt times 2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.